Is this thing on? Yeah, hello, testing, testing. Hello, hello, testing. Okay, making sure it's on. So another FISA update. This is even more recent video. This was just from this morning, a 3-hour session um, of the committee getting together to discuss um, the amendments that they're going to add to the bill that they're trying to pass into legislation. So, but before I even talk about that, I just want to say to all targeted individuals, people that are truly going through this, just be very careful, especially this time of year, this season. Um, the trend that I've seen throughout the years of my targeting is for some reason, and I know the reason why, but around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, these people really amp up their attacks. Okay. And after some research, I found out something pertaining to the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. And the persecution of saints. And I'm not saying that I'm a saint or a holy person or anything like that. And it's funny because I've had people in my life tell me things like, you're an angel, or, you're an angelic, or you're a son of God. Like I've actually had people, strangers even that I didn't even know, tell me these things, but I've never thought of myself in that way. I've never thought of myself as being some sort of holy figure by no means, because I'm not perfect, but who knows how God views us, Man can view us as not being perfect, but in the sight of God we're perfect, right? But I say all that to say this. I did research on what happened to saints back in the day, basically. And there's a video that I posted, and it was crazy because right before I went to jail the last time here in Florida, I posted this video here. Okay, courts involved in persecution and setups of empowered individuals. Please go and watch this video. Okay, I'll leave up, and my ad blocker is up, so I can't even play it from here. I gotta well, actually, no. I had put an ad blocker on here, and YouTube, they're like, oh, you can't have that. But anyways, this is the name of the video. I will save the link in the description. It's called Courts Involved in Persecution and Setups of Empowered Individuals from the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. And when you read or listen to what was being said in this video pertaining to the persecution of the saints, it will make sense as to why they start amping up these attacks, especially around their pagan holidays. Okay. So just go ahead and watch that. It talked about how they would throw the saints into the jails. They would destroy the property of the saints. Um, they would basically give the saints up as sacrifices to appease demons. Isn't that fucking crazy? And I mean, it makes sense. They did the same thing to Jesus. You know, they persecuted him. They gang stalked him. Put him in jail. He was beaten. I mean, I've experienced all those things. So that's why a lot of the stuff that I read in the Bible, I can certainly relate to just as you can, going through what we go through. And, I'm not saying I'm any Jesus or anything like that, but I can relate. I can damn sure relate to the struggle, having to move from place to place, fleeing from one place to the other in the name of safety, just as Jesus did. Okay. Even Jesus himself couldn't deliver himself from being gang stalked, if you think about it. He was the son of God, and he himself could not deliver himself from the gang stalking. Regardless of the powers that he had, he was still subject to that harassment. So let's not forget that. Just as other saints, godly figures even before him or after him that came about, just as we go through it. So I'm just saying, just be extra careful around this time. Some people have said, oh, it's because they're about to lose funding or the program is about to end. I don't necessarily think that, because the trend has been consistent every year. Around the holidays, these people amp up their shit to try to get you entangled into something, whether it's losing your job. Like I said, they have many ways of destroying your life. You know, they can give you the impression that they're going to do one thing, but then hit you with something totally different that will devastate your life. So I'm just here not to instill fear in anybody. It's just as it says in scripture, be sober and vigilant, for your adversary, the devil, roams about like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. Okay? These people are constantly on the lookout for any little thing that they can pick up on to try to get you with. So all I'm saying is just be brave, be bold, but at the same time, just be very vigilant. Watch your surroundings, set up your surveillance. My surveillance has served me well because if I'm able to catch what is happening even before it happens and I'm able to articulate and make prediction videos and premonition videos as to what's to come, that's going to be a very interesting point in the courts. How did he know that this was going to happen? He said it just as it would play out. Now they have to watch us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to know everything that we're doing. So they always know when we're recording, right? So they will a lot of times adjust whatever shenanigan or crime that they're about to commit against us. A lot of times they will adjust it if you're able to record beforehand or even as it's happening. So just keep that in mind as well. Keep recording devices on you, audio recording devices, whatever you got to do to protect yourself. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. Now to the FISA update. So they had another meeting today. The House Judiciary Committee holds markup hearing for pending legislation. So they're basically going to have a House vote. I think it's going to be next week. It's going to be a full vote on the House. And uh, these are the representatives that are basically proposing their amendments. And they go over what the amendments are going to be about. And they vote in this setting as to whether or not they will adopt that amendment. And then they will take all the adopted amendments that they've agreed upon. And this is a bipartisan effort. They have both Democrat and Republicans that come together to do this. Then they will take that over to the for the House vote next week, in which they will also have intelligence agencies that will also have their input on maybe something to add to the amendment or something that they would like to add. And then they'll come to a vote as a whole. They'll vote, I guess, on whether or not they're either going to let it expire and just get rid of it, or if they do decide to keep it, they will then have this bill with these amendments attached to it that will have like this heavy reform. So there's a lot of stuff that was talked about in this hearing that was sounded very good. There were some things that I kind of was, sketched out on that I felt kind of sketchy about. I'm not going to play the whole thing again. This thing was like 3 hours long. I basically watched this throughout the duration of, while I was, like working and stuff like that. I was just kind of watching it, pausing it, watching it, pausing it, that type thing. So I finished watching the whole thing basically. And there are just a few points that I wanted to point out. I will also leave the link to this. Again, this was posted just today. They started this morning, and it was over 3 hours long. So there was a lot that was said. Um, just a few little key points and highlights I wanted to point out. So in this specific part of it, let me play some of the beginning part a little bit, and then I'll go into like some of the things that I wanted to point out and highlight about what I heard and my, kind of like my opinion on it.
Committee will come to order without objection. The chair is authorized to declare recess at any time pursuant to Committee Rule 2, House Rule 11, Clause 2. The chairman may postpone further proceedings today on the question of approving any measure or matter or adopting an amendment for which a recorded vote is ordered. We welcome back to the committee the gentleman from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong, and would ask the gentleman if he'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to notice, we call up H.R. 6570, the Protect Liberty End Warrantless Surveillance Act, for purpose of markup, and move that the committee report it favorably to the House. The clerk will report the bill.
H.R.
As you can see, the date December 6th. Today is December 6th of 2023. I don't like how Forbes has this banner up. It covers up the names of these people. So I just wanted y'all to like see it in full. It wasn't like this, obviously, when they posted it to the Judiciary Committee website. Not website, but their YouTube channel. So that's just retarded that somebody would put that banner up blocking names. But anyways, let me finish playing a little bit of this.
6570
Without
to
objection,
amend.
the bill will be considered as read and open for amendment at any point. The chair now recognizes the gentleman.
In 2022, the FBI was still 20 Director Ray testified before the committee and told the American people that they should not lose any sleep over the vast majority of FISA applications. Former Director Comey labeled FISA a top-tier FBI program. Despite these claims, in 2019 and 2020, Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz exposed how the FBI had violated its authorities under FISA by improperly spying on Trump campaign associations. The reports revealed that the FBI failed to recognize the significant risks posed by systemic noncompliance with the Woods procedure. Again, in May 2023, Special Counsel John Durham released a report on FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, which not only supported Inspector General Horowitz's findings, but also found that political and confirmation bias led the FBI to lie to the FISC in order to improperly spy on the Trump campaign for an entire year. In April of this year, we held a hearing with Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz and members of the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board to discuss the FISA program and to determine whether reforms to Section 702 are needed. It became increasingly clear that significant reforms are necessary, and in July we held another hearing to further discuss these needed reforms. At the end of this year, the end of this month, Section 702 of FISA will expire. Reports in recent years have exposed the government's and specifically the FBI's abuse of this program. A law designed to provide tools to collect foreign intelligence and prevent terrorist attacks has been warped into a domestic spy tool used to target Americans. In 2021, the FBI queried the communications of more than 3.3 million U.S. persons wrongfully. In 2022, the FBI was still conducting hundreds of U.S. persons queries per day. A recent
So when some people say that there are millions of targets, that may be a strong possibility. I mean, look at the numbers. These people have reports that they have to come out with and report to Congress pertaining to these queries that the FBI and intelligence agencies make. Well, I'm not going to say intelligence agent. I'm going to say FBI. And they have to basically report those numbers. So the numbers show that millions of queries were submitted. So to say that there's a possibility that there are millions of targeted individuals, it's not so far-fetched because look at what they're reporting. So yeah, let me finish playing a little bit more of this.
FISA court opinion revealed the FBI conducted more than 278,000 improper searches of U.S. persons' communications in 2022. These backdoor warrantless searches included Americans who were in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021. These backdoor warrantless searches included Americans who participated in Black Lives Matter protests during the summer of 2020. And
as I said before, you have political figures that have been queried. The guy that I mentioned yesterday, Darren LaHood, he's a representative from Illinois who got queried by the FBI. Everybody knows that Trump is definitely targeted. I mean, look at everything that he's going through. He's been a victim of this FISA 702 program as well. So, you know, it's like they want to shed more light on it now since some of them are being targeted with it. But it's like, you know, why haven't they done anything about this before? Like, why are they just now trying to do something about it now? So it's kind of fucked up that they had to wait till some of their people get targeted first, and then they want to say, okay, well, we need to overlook this thing and look out for the rights of American citizens and all this kind of shit. But this stuff has been long overdue. I'm not saying that it's going to end. Again, I safeguard myself by saying you can't trust nothing in this world. You can't trust nothing anybody says. The Bible even tells you trust no man but God. But it's very interesting to keep up with this because it pertains directly to targeted individuals, okay? At least the surveillance aspect of it. They haven't talked about the darker things that happened with the experimentations, the directed energy weapons attacks, the poisoning of food, a lot of these shenanigans and illegal things that these people have done to destroy people's lives. And it's just amazing how they haven't even talked about that aspect of it. This is mainly just covering or talking about the surveillance, infiltrating people's emails, phone calls, text messages. It's funny how they don't talk about the actual shenanigans and the illegal things that they're doing pertaining to this FISA 702. But let's continue to watch and listen.
Included Americans who were in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021, even though they had nothing to do with the riots near.
All right, I'm gonna try to skip along a little bit because I just, like I said, I'm gonna jump right to a part of it that I wanted to bring to the attention of everybody. I need
I
to get
believe in
there
some.
to get it. Okay, yes, it was like 146, I think. Okay.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Schiff.
So this is the part where, they've agreed on an amendment, they vote on it, and then Jim Jordan will exclaim that the amendment has been adopted. So that's what she's doing. But right after that, there's a representative, Andy Biggs, state representative from the state of Arizona, I believe, and he's going to be presenting an amendment from one of his colleagues who uh, coincidentally couldn't be there, but this amendment was like an awesome amendment, I think. And maybe I'm understanding it wrong, but at the end of him uh, expressing what the amendment was about, it sounded as if he said the amendment was being withdrawn. And I thought this was a really good amendment to pose, to include in the bill, but for some reason it got withdrawn. Anyway, I want you guys to listen to it. Maybe I've interpreted it the wrong way, or maybe I'm not understanding it. I'm not really an expert in the political arenas or anything like that. I just have been watching a lot of this stuff and just kind of learning things on along the way myself. So I'm no expert, but one second.
Mr. Swalwell. Mr. Swalwell votes aye. Mr. Liu. Ms. Jayapal. Ms. Jayapal votes no. Mr. Correa. Ms. Scanlon. Ms. Scanlon votes no. Mr. Neguse. Ms. McBath.
All right, let me try to move this.
Considered as read, excuse me, and the
Mr. Chairman, I
Gentlelady-
reserve a point of order.
gentlelady from Florida reserves a point of order. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm offering this amendment on behalf of our colleague, Representative Lofgren, who is a leading voice on civil liberties and government surveillance issues in Congress. Unfortunately, she can't be here today.
This senator that he's speaking of, Senator Laughlin, she's calling out the other intelligence agencies that also collect data as well. Remember in my previous videos, I mentioned, why are they always only talking about the FBI with this stuff? Why don't they ever talk about the CIA or the NSA? Like, these are other intelligence agencies that also partake in this stuff that's going on with our targeting. Okay, I'll go into more depth. Let's listen further.
She has expressed support for the underlying legislation. She expressed support and encouraged this amendment be offered. And in deference and respect to her, I am offering this amendment, and the substance of it I agree with, but as I will explain, the amendment would require.
So it's her amendment that she came up with. She gave it to Representative Biggs here to present it, but then at the end of it, he withdraws it, and I'm like, let's listen.
The government to secure a warrant before searching for information on U.S. persons and data collected under programs authorized by Executive Order 12333. Representative Lofgren is the Democrat lead of the bipartisan bicameral Government Surveillance Reform Act, legislation which lays out comprehensive reforms to surveillance programs across the federal government. That bill, of which I am a co-sponsor, has provided members of this committee with a North Star when considering the best approaches to reauthorizing Section 702. Due to its comprehensive nature, many of its reform proposals are beyond the scope of the legislative jurisdiction of this committee or are not germane to the text under consideration today. In addition to requiring the government to secure a search warrant for information in the 702 database, the GSRA also includes a warrant
Over the jurisdiction of this committee. Pay attention.
requirement for government queries of U.S. persons and data collected under EO 12333 programs. EO 12333, which has been on the books since the early Reagan administration, has been a key tool.
EO 12333, and notice he said it's been on the book since the Reagan administration. So these are these other programs, I believe, the darker programs that they have going on that they really don't talk about to the public, okay? And when I looked into this, I asked myself, does the CIA have, does Congress have oversight over the CIA? I mean, I looked into that, And this is what I found out. Legislative oversight of intelligence. The U.S. Congress has had oversight responsibilities over the CIA since the agency was established in 47. However, prior to the mid-1970s, oversight responsibilities resided in the Armed Services Committee of both chambers and were less formal than they are now. It goes on to say here, is the CIA accountable to Congress? U.S. military operations fall under the jurisdiction of the Senate and House Armed Services Committees. Congressional oversight of the CIA and other intelligence agencies is handled by separate committees in the House and Senate that hold most of their meetings and hearings in secret. Okay? So I'm gonna tell y'all something. When I say that I've been targeted since I was a kid, it didn't start with the FBI. The CIA has always been in the background ever since I was a kid. Okay? The fact that they have to hold meetings in secret pertaining to projects or things dealing with the public, that within itself is so fucking shady. It sounds so shady and so nefarious. So one must ask, who am I that they feel to need to watch me indefinitely? Who am I really? That's the question that I have. Apparently, they know something about me that I may or may not know about myself. For them to watch someone, and then he goes on to say, Andy Biggs, in this proposal of this amendment, he goes on to say that the CIA gathered data and intel of citizens who did not have a flag for terrorism. Basically, who weren't a threat in terms of like being a terrorist or anything like that. So if we're not terrorists, then why are you watching us like that? Again, it raises the question: who am I really? Who are you? Who are we really? Those of us that are on these lists. Let me continue. Remember, my dad was a subject to this harassment in the 90s. Remember, I told you my father worked for the American Cancer Society as a research analyst in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. The latter part of 99, he was being targeted by these same individuals. Okay. My father also worked for an organization called Triple CD, Combating Communicable Childhood Diseases. He had projects that he did in different parts of the world. In some cases, we got to travel with him. Okay. So when my father found something out that he was trying to expose, they went after him. So ever since I was a kid, the gang stalking, looking back on my life as a child, was always there. It was always there. Let me continue playing this.
For the intelligence community's data collection and retention programs. While data collected under 12333 presents many of the same challenges as data collected under Section 702 of FISA, including the incidental collection of U.S. persons data, programs under 12333 lack the congressional and judicial oversight mechanisms that I would like to see and which are needed to ensure that the civil liberties of
Lack the judicial oversight and mechanisms. Listen.
Americans are protected. Concerns exist that if common sense limits are placed on the FBI's ability to conduct backdoor searches of 702 data, agencies may shift their unconstitutional searches of Americans' information to programs that lack congressional oversight. These are
Shifted to programs that lack congressional oversights. What did I just say about the CIA? Okay, this was a very good point that this lady was bringing up with this amendment providing protections against that. But at the end of him talking about it, it gets withdrawn. And I'm like, that right there. When I asked the question earlier about, okay, is the CIA accountable to Congress? Obviously, they lack judicial power over the CIA, according to what this guy is saying. Let me finish playing. They've hit me with something trying to fuck with my thought process here. Bear with me.
not idle concerns. As Patrick Eddington of the Cato Institute pointed out a few weeks ago in an op-ed, years before the 702 program was authorized, quote, the Central Intelligence Agency was apparently conducting exactly the kind of internet backbone surveillance now carried out under FISA Section 702 with absolutely no judicial oversight. Close quote. Mr. Chairman,
Did you hear what he just said? So basically, before 9/11, the CIA was doing shit like this not long before 9/11. It's basically what this man just said.
submit for the record that commentary is the CIA still secretly capturing Americans' communications.
Without objection.
The information came to light following a Cato lawsuit under the Freedom of Information.
See, that's the part that kind of confused me a bit. Did he say he objects or without objection? Like, that's the part I kind of didn't understand. I'm having kind of a brain fart there. So if somebody could help me in understanding that part, I'd appreciate it. I know there are people out there that are a lot more intelligent or whatever. I don't even consider myself intelligent or whatever, but you know, if you can articulate that for me, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm gonna play this whole thing through again, just so that we can listen to it fully, and I don't have to interrupt with my narration. But let me go back a little bit. And then Jim Jordan says he objects or without objection or something. One second. Damn, I always take it.
Championed by Representative Lofgren, and also our friends in the Senate.
Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
This, and I will now withdraw it. House Representative Warren Davidson. And also our friends in the Senate, Senator Wyden and Senator Mike Lee, and also our colleague in the House, Representative Warren Davidson. As I am aware of the germaneness concerns with this amendment, Mr. Chairman,
Gosh, man.
championed by Representative has been a key tool for the intelligence community's data collection and retention programs. While data collected under 12333 presents many of the same challenges as data collected under Section 702 of FISA, including the incidental collection of U.S. persons data, programs under 12333 lack the congressional and judicial oversight mechanisms that I would like to see and which are needed to ensure that the civil liberties of Americans are protected. Concerns exist that if common sense limits are placed on the FBI's ability to conduct backdoor searches of 702 data, agencies may shift their unconstitutional searches of Americans' information to programs that lack congressional oversight. These are not idle concerns. As Patrick Eddington of the Cato Institute pointed out a few weeks ago in an op-ed, years before the 702 program was authorized, quote, the Central Intelligence Agency was apparently conducting exactly the kind of internet backbone surveillance now carried out under FISA Section 702 with absolutely no judicial oversight. Close quote. Mr. Chairman, I submit for the record that commentary is the CIA still secretly capturing Americans' communications.
Without objection.
Okay, never mind. So they're submitting a quote from that amendment, and Jim Jordan was saying without objection. So he's welcoming that. Okay, I get it now. I'm sorry. Like I said, when I watched this earlier, I was like multitasking and shit like that. So yeah, never mind.
The information came to light following a Cato lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act, which revealed that a CIA program operating during the 90s captured and retained U.S. persons' data seemingly indefinitely, and that retention was not necessarily tied to any actual terrorist threat or espionage investigation.
Not tied to any terrorist threat or espionage investigation, but yet they were still collecting data of innocent American citizens. Okay? You hear it here.
This underlying amendment would ensure that Americans' Fourth Amendment rights are protected no matter what database intelligence agencies are utilizing. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to discuss this important effort championed by Representative Lofgren and also our friends in the Senate, Senator Wyden and Senator Mike Lee, and also our colleague in the House, Representative Warren Davidson. As I am aware of the germaneness concerns with this amendment, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for letting me raise this, and I will now withdraw it from further consideration, and I yield back.
Without objection, the amendment is withdrawn. Who seeks recognition?
Why? Did I hear that right? Did they just say that they're withdrawing that? Or maybe it wasn't an amendment. Maybe it was just her speaking her opinion or thoughts. Somebody please help me understand it. Did they just withdraw that? Bringing attention to the fact that before FISA 702 even existed, they are pointing to the fact that those same type of activities that the FISA 702 has going on was also being done with the CIA and other intelligence agencies as well. Did they just really just withdraw that part? I don't know about that. This is why I say you can't trust nobody. So somebody please explain that part to me. I'm hoping I'm just misunderstanding it, or I'm just hearing it wrong. But yeah, I want to play this through one more time, and then I'll pretty much end the video. 1 second.
Mr. Bishop. Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Or do you have an amendment at the desk?
Yes, I have an amendment at the desk.
Gentleman has an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 6570, offered by Mr. Bishop of North
Without objection, the
Carolina.
amendment will be considered
They
as
have
read.
moved on to another amendment. They're not even talking about that lady's amendment. 1 second. I'm gonna play it through one more time so y'all can listen to
Johnson
it.
votes aye. Mr. votes no.
Clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 4 ayes and 22 noes.
The amendment is not adopted. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will report.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R.
Without objection, the amendment will be read, will be considered as read, excuse me, in the
Mr. Chairman, I
Gentlelady-
reserve a point of order.
gentlelady from Florida reserves a point of order. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm offering this amendment on behalf of our colleague, Representative Lofgren, who is a leading voice on civil liberties and government surveillance issues in Congress. Unfortunately, she can't be here today. She has expressed support
I wonder
for
why.
the underlying legislation. She expressed support and encouraged this amendment be offered. And in deference and respect to her, I am offering this amendment, and the substance of it I agree with, but as I will explain. The amendment would require the government to secure a warrant before searching for information on U.S. persons and data collected under programs authorized by Executive Order 12333. Representative Lofgren is the Democrat lead of the bipartisan bicameral Government Surveillance Reform Act, legislation which lays out comprehensive reforms to surveillance programs across the federal government. That bill, of which I am a co-sponsor, has provided members of this committee with a North Star when considering the best approaches to reauthorizing Section 702. Due to its comprehensive nature, many of its reform proposals are beyond the scope of the legislative jurisdiction of this committee or are not germane to the text under consideration today. In addition to requiring the government to secure a search warrant for information in the 702 database, the GSRA also includes a warrant requirement for government queries of U.S. persons and data collected under EO 12333 programs. EO 12333, which has been on the books since the early Reagan administration, has been a key tool for the intelligence community's data collection and retention programs. While data collected under 12333 presents many of the same challenges as data collected under Section 702 of FISA, including the incidental collection of U.S. persons data, programs under 12333 lack the congressional and judicial oversight mechanisms that I would like to see and which are needed to ensure that the civil liberties of Americans are protected. Concerns exist that if common sense limits are placed on the FBI's ability to conduct backdoor searches of 702 data, agencies may shift their unconstitutional searches of Americans' information to programs that lack congressional oversight. These are not idle concerns. As Patrick Eddington of the Cato Institute pointed out a few weeks ago in an op-ed, years before the 702 program was authorized, quote, the Central Intelligence Agency was apparently conducting exactly the kind of internet backbone surveillance now carried out under FISA Section 702 with absolutely no judicial oversight, close quote. Mr. Chairman, I submit for the record that commentary. Is the CIA still secretly capturing Americans' communications?
Without objection.
The information came to light following a Cato lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act, which revealed that a CIA program operating during the 90s captured and retained U.S. persons' data seemingly indefinitely. and that retention was not necessarily tied to any actual terrorist threat or espionage investigation. This underlying amendment would ensure that Americans' Fourth Amendment rights are protected no matter what database intelligence agencies are utilizing. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to discuss this important effort championed by Representative Lofgren and also our friends in the Senate, Senator Wyden and Senator Mike Lee, and also our colleague in the House, Representative Warren Davidson. As I am aware of the germaneness concerns with this amendment, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for letting me raise this, and I will now withdraw it from further consideration, and I yield back.
Without objection, the amendment is withdrawn. Who seeks recognition?
Oh gosh. So yeah, somebody please explain that one to me, because that right there was just I don't know what to think about that. That just smooth got withdrawn. But again, check this out for yourself. It is over just under 3 hours. This whole thing. Like I said, I watched the whole thing. I'm watching it with, you know, like a hawk. So um, just basically trying to be informed of what's going on. Like I said, I don't put trust in any of it. I'm not, you know, I am not. Yeah. Anyways, so this is the video that I was talking about earlier that you guys should check out. Where is it? I you. The one that I said I was going to leave the link for. Definitely check that out. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, it's right here. It's this one. Courts involved in persecution and setups of empowered individuals from the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. It talks about the pagan origins of Christmas, message to the courts, the pagan origin of holidays. I mean, all that information is in there, and really pay attention to what they did to the saints during the holidays. And this is confirmation as to who we really are when you look at the persecution and the struggles of the individual. Like it said, there's a saying that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest angels or soldiers or something like that. But yeah, check that out. Look at it for yourself. Compare with the struggles that we go through in this day and age. It's the same shit. It's only less. It's only they're using technology now. They have advancement in technology to where they can torture the fuck out of you and punish you without even laying hands on you. You get what I'm saying? It's just like a new way of torture. But you know, I just feel like it's punishment for coming down here to try to help, just as other saints and holy figures and people that are from above, basically, that come here to try to help. This is what they do. So it's punishment for that. Should have stayed your ass up there, type thing. You know what I mean? So hey, so yeah, there's that. What else did I want to talk about? So again, I don't really think that the CIA is accountable to Congress. Like I said, these people have meetings in secret, you know, and the horror and terror of what is really going on in secret. You know, obviously that's why they have to keep it secret. But yeah, that's all I got. Oversight of the Central Intelligence Agency generally comes from two select committees of Congress and the CIA's Inspector General. GAO has broad, that's my dad's, those are my dad's initials, has broad authority to evaluate CIA programs. In reality, however, GAO faces both legal and practical limitations on its ability to review these programs. Um, see. So yeah, like I said, do your research. Brian 2 is not crazy. Also check out Brian 2 and his channel, the information he puts out about the technology and then the capabilities of these technologies and what their goals are. He really lays it out and breaks it down as to how evil this thing is and what their ultimate goal is to basically to have full control over your soul. Is as brief as I can put it. They want full control over your soul. The true light to these serpents is beautiful, but only if they can control it. That's ultimately what we're up against. And I will continue to make more videos and get more depth of the rabbit hole aspect of it, because there's just the outer part, the physical part of what's going on, but there's also some deeper stuff that's happening with this as well. So I'll be talking about that at a later time. But let's just see how this shit works out. Like I said, with this current administration, I don't see them draining the swamp with this current administration in place. Okay. It's good that they're talking about these reforms and wanting to implement them. So I guess this could be very well be implemented as soon as next week. They're supposed to have a vote on it. I don't know how further after that they actually implement it, but I would assume if they vote on it and they come to a decision that it would go into effect right away. But we shall see. Like I said, it was said that Director Ray has he said himself that they've implemented some changes to some of the things that they've been doing. But again, I've not seen any changes. I've not seen no changes at all. So it's still the same shit, but only time will tell. Um, oh, just something random to share. Someone had shared with me. Um, I'll do another video for that actually. All right, that's it for now. Please leave comments. I would really, really like feedback on the part where that amendment got withdrawn. I just want to know y'all's thoughts on it, and stuff like that. So, again, I'm going to leave the links to these videos. Please watch this one. Courts involved in persecution and setups of empowered individuals from the Roman Catholic Church. The audio on this one's a bit fucked up. You can still hear it and listen to it. I'm not some tech geek that cares about shit like that. I just, as long as you can hear it and get the message, that's all I care about. I'm not, you know, um, 1 second. Yes, and then I'll also leave the link to this video as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching.